Hey, what's going on, everyone? This is Mike Kollin at MikeKollin.com. And this is Fractured Thoughts by Sappheiros. Okay, so I'm going to read this off. It says, a different version of you exists in the minds of everyone who knows you. So during our NLP trainings, during the practitioner and especially the master practitioner program, there was an image. I'm going to bring it up pretty soon here. And it basically shows that we have these things called filters. So rules, values, beliefs, those are all filters. And there's a lot more filters which we're going to get into in this video. So the number one thing, so if I were to say what is the core shift or awareness or understanding that an empath who's been getting attacked by narcissist absolutely has to make in order to get out of that trap. So what that is essentially is you have to shift back inside. So as I said in the past, you have to shift your external locus of control back inside, and really essentially all that means is bringing your awareness back inside and reconnecting with your inner self. Because there's this game going on outside of you. Okay, it's what narcissists do. It is the narcissist's game. So narcissists do all these tactics to sting you emotionally in your solar plexus, your belly, in your heart and chest area. So you will, instead of going and see, I made a video about what anchors are and how what they do is they link this pain up to where anytime you go inside you get this sting, and then it forces you to say after a period of time, like, I don't want to feel that pain anymore, so now I'm going to go external, which is your left brain. So now you disconnected or dissociated from yourself, which means you dissociated from your emotions and your feelings, everything that makes you who you are, because your internal self is really who you truly are. This is what you value. This is what you believe. This is what you find meaningful in life. These are your thoughts. These are your beliefs. And that's exactly the way it should be. So when narcissists sting you inside internally over and over and over emotionally, it causes you to go external, which now puts you into what's called group think. So now nobody can think for themselves. You're not allowed to, because otherwise you're going to feel that emotional sting in your solar plexus and in your heart, etc. So now you have to not think. Now you have to, now listen closely, just accept the beliefs of the group. So all self is gone. See, the narcissist can't control you or society if you actually think for yourself. That is their absolute number one nightmare. Okay, so here's the difference between belief and actually knowing. Now, in the recent past, I would say about a week to 2 weeks ago, I've made a couple of videos about how religion and scientists are using the same brain, the left brain. Again, the left brain is about rules, structure, and organization. What is a church? It's a set of rules, it's a structure or set of structures, and it's an organization. So now listen closely to the word I'm about to use. So religious people follow other people's beliefs, because remember, the left brain is the external brain. Again, the left brain processes information through rules, structure, and organization. That's what the left brain is all about. The challenge is, though, it's the external brain, meaning you're looking to others to tell you what to think and what to believe, because the left brain doesn't know. Therefore, it has to go to the group and say, so what do we believe? So it just blindly accepts this belief, or an entire series of beliefs, because it doesn't know what to believe. Because it can't. It's not designed that way. The right brain is about thinking for yourself. The left brain is looking external, saying, what do you think? What do you think? What do you think? And gathering those thoughts and bringing them back and saying, okay, well, I guess this is what I think now. Because they say. And, this is how you can recognize someone who's a group thinker. They'll say, well, everybody else says this. This is what the group thinks. This is what the colleges say. This is what the, Dr. So-and-so who was accepted by this group of people, group of peers. It's all about peer thinking, group think. Now the right brain goes out and gathers information. The right brain is about see, hear, feel, smell, and taste. That's how that processor processes and filters information. It processes information by first-hand experience, by seeing it, hearing it, feeling it, smelling, and tasting it. Whereas the left brain is the memorization brain. So you're just spitting out facts that you were taught to believe and to memorize, and you just go back into your memory banks and you spit them out. That is not thinking at all. So the right brain is the abstract brain. It's the abstract thinker. It gathers different information, bigger picture, lots of informations over here, over there, and then it amalgamates. And also what that means is it brings all that information together into one thought, into one picture. And then it says, here's what I've gathered, and here's what I now know because of A, B, C, D, E, F, G. Most humans cannot do this. It is overwhelming. They don't know how to use the right brain. It is too abstract. They just can't do it. So this is why the phrase blind faith is so promoted in the church, because they don't want you to know. They want you to just blindly accept what they tell you. Well, this is just the way it is because God said. That's it. Now I come along and say, well, how do you know? And they don't like that. Now at the time I didn't know it, but the church people saw me as a troublemaker, and I was just curious. I wanted to know. So I noticed in the Old Testament, I don't know if it was 100 times, but it was a lot where God, now listen, who? God constantly says to meditate upon these words, meditate upon this whatever, meditate on this. And I marked about a dozen of them, and I brought them to Pastor X and said, hey, why are church people so against meditation? Because here, and I started flipping through every place that I marked where God literally tells these people, you need to meditate. Pastor X looked at me and he said, you're right. So guess what I started to do? Yep, I started to meditate every day. Why? Because I wanted to know. It's called a knowing. So I spent my entire life finding out. It's much more powerful to actually know something from personal first-hand experience over and over and over again. And it has a lot more weight than just blindly believing something that you have no idea why I believe. Well, I belong to this church and they told me to believe this, so I just accepted it. Never even took the time to look into it, to research it, to study it, to find out. One of the things that I almost immediately, I think it was the second psychology class, that I just absolutely hated about psychology. I started to realize it was all about beliefs, theories, and opinions. Now, these people that have only grown up on beliefs, theories, and opinions and just, well, this is what the college says and this is what the book says, and we as a group of colleges or a certain segment of this psychology society, we believe this to be true, therefore it is, and you have to fill out your test this way, otherwise we will fail you. So I started noticing between science and between religion, religious people, they have the same belief system. It's just, well, this is what the group says and therefore it is. And this is what Jesus calls the blind leading the blind. Because they are blind. All of them, especially the leaders. They're just bullshitting. They're just trying to save their ass. So the way narcissists control you is when you have this left brain way of processing. It's external. The right brain is the internal brain. It's like, well, what do I think? What do I know? So I remember my ex-girlfriend in my 20s and also my goddaughter. Well, she said this about 10 years later in a very angry, upset, frustrated kind of way. And they said, "You're always right. You're always right." And my immediate response was like, "No, I'm not." They're like, "Yes, you are. You're never wrong about anything." Now this really threw me, and I didn't because I don't know everything, and I'm very, very aware of that. So it was many years later. I want to say it was probably my late 30s, maybe my early 40s. But I remember I had a realization about the difference between me and those people, let's call them. It wasn't that I was always right. It was that if I didn't know something, I would say, "I don't know." And now that I think about it, my high school girlfriend screamed at me about this too. And it took me a while. I think it was a therapist / energy healer I was going to, or it might have been a friend of mine. But they said, no, the difference is if you don't know something, you just say, "I don't know." And that doesn't really register with them because this is how they said it. Not necessarily those three people. But they said, "Michael, most people will say something even if they don't know." And I said, "Why?" He said, "Because most people are too embarrassed to admit that they don't know something." And that took me a couple of weeks, even months, I think, to kind of listen and watch and pay attention. And I really began to notice a lot of people will sit there and give opinions and beliefs and theories that they don't actually know anything about. And then they will argue to death about it. And you're like, but you don't actually, why would you argue something if you don't know? Because they don't realize the get out of jail free card is the phrase, "I don't know." For some reason they don't realize it's okay not to know everything. I mean, it is impossible to know everything about anything. And then I started remembering seminars and books I've read that say, hey, it's okay to say you don't know. And I remember just reading like, why would they say that? Because I'm one of those people that, how to explain this? It's like I'm living on this path. And it's kind of like, well, of course you drink water. Like, why would you have to tell someone to drink water? That makes no sense. So now that this was pointed out to me, I started noticing it with all kinds of people. And I'm like, wow, I didn't even know. And here's the thing, I just assumed that when people said something to me, that they actually knew what they were talking about. Oh no. And here's the thing, a lot of these people, in fact, probably most of them, they were conditioned into, well, just believe, have faith, and it's a theory, and it's a philosophy, and that's good enough. Or not only good enough, but that's the way it is. And I'll tell you why I'm based the way I am. Because at a very young age, I get involved in martial arts, okay? And then in boxing. Boxing really is what I believe taught it to me. So when I was a little kid, 4 or 5 years old, you had to learn how to roll. You had to learn how to, fall backwards and forwards. And you had to learn how to do it on the left side and the right side. And this was like the first 2 or 3 weeks or even months where you just had to do this every day at home. And I remember the teacher saying you have to do 100 front whirls, on the right side, 100 on the left, and 100 on the right reverse, 100 on the left reverse, until I teach you the next lesson. So the first day I actually did it. The second day I did about 50, and the third day I did about 15, and then the next day I didn't do any. The next day I didn't do any, but then the day before class I did about 15 each, and that was it. So he goes, okay, did you do it 100 times each way, front and back, every single day? It's, oh yeah. He goes, are you sure? Because I'm going to know. And I'm like, oh yeah, I did. I really, and so in my mind, I'm thinking, well, I mean, I did the first day, I did 50 the next day, so I did a lot. No, he meant every day. And he even told us that. So he went and got one of the other students that was a little bit older, a little bit more experienced, but about my size, maybe an inch taller. And he goes, okay, I'm going to have him flip you. So if you learned how to do it right, you should be able to do it. And the guy flipped me over, and he didn't even do it that hard. He just kind of flipped me over, and bam, I landed on my back, and it knocked the wind out of me really, really bad. And I couldn't breathe. And then the instructor looks at me. He goes, clearly you didn't practice it every single day 100 ways frontwards and backwards on both sides. He goes, Michael, until you do this, I'm not going to teach you the next lesson. So I didn't actually know how to roll correctly frontwards and backwards on both sides. And while he was saying this to me, I was like, oh, I couldn't even take a deep breath. And he just walked away. Let me tell you, that was a reality check from believing I could do it versus knowing I could do it. And that's the difference between religious people and spiritual people. So then when I was about 8.5 years old, I joined the boxing team in my local city, okay? And they taught us the jab, and we had to do it every day in warm-ups, and then we had to put on the gloves and punch the bag for like 30 minutes, only the jab. Now, after 4 or 5 days, I'm getting bored. And I'm kind of going, hey, coach, can you teach me something? He goes, no. He goes, you have to master the jab. He goes, show me your jab. He goes, no, you're doing it too low. I told you it has to be at a slight upward angle. Okay. He goes, Mike, you have more to practice. I go, okay. Well, what ended up happening was I ended up getting into the ring and my first sparring thing because my coach wanted me to learn a lesson. So I went in there feeling confident, and I had thrown my jab out there a couple times and missed the guy, and then the guy slightly faded to the right, and he threw an overhand right into my nose. It was a feeling that I'll never forget. It stung it stung my whole brain. It stung my nose, but it spread throughout my whole front of my face and my brain, and my eyes watered profusely. I could not see what was in front of me, pretty much from the pain alone, but the watering of the eyes just made it worse. Because remember, I tried to open my eyes, because when it stings, it forces your eyes closed, like you can't open your eyes. And I tried to open my eyes through the pain, and I couldn't see the guy. Well, luckily, this guy didn't quite understand what he did, so he didn't keep smacking me. My message? That was a reality check. I began to realize, holy shit, I need to learn how to box or I'm going to get hurt, and it's going to be a lot of pain. It's going to be painful. So sports was all about reality checks versus bullshitting yourself, because the price you pay is a lot of pain, and it sucks. And you're like, yeah, F that. You realize that lying, bullshitting, philosophizing, beliefifying, religifying, what's the word? No, what's the other one? Hold on. Opinions. You start realizing opinions, beliefs, philosophies, they go all out the window. It comes down to what's reality. See, hear, feel, smell, and taste. Because if you're not in tune with reality, you're going to get hurt, and you're going to get hurt bad, and you're not going to like it. So boxing, kickboxing, wrestling, football, very impactful sports, very painful sports, all conditioned your brain to be in the now, to pay attention, and to be in reality, and to be responsible. Because if you're not, you're going to get hurt and you're going to pay. Alright, so here we go. A different version of you exists in the minds of everyone who knows you. Okay, I'm going to teach you how to come back to yourself and not care what other people think. I read a book that blew my mind. The main character goes crazy when he realizes no one really knows him. The gist is that the person you think of yourself exists only for you, and even you don't really know who that is. Every person you meet, have a relationship with, or make eye contact on the street with creates a version of you in their heads. You are not the same person to your mom, your dad, your siblings, than you are to your coworkers, your neighbors, or your friends. There are 1,000 different versions of yourself out there in people's minds. A you exists in each version, and yet you yourself isn't really a someone at all. So here's my point. When you get really abused by narcissists, there comes that one time, that one narcissist where you've had it. You can't take it anymore and you're absolutely done. This is your first day of freedom, because they make it really, it's almost as if they're doing it on purpose. They're trying to say something that you're not. They're trying to convince not only themselves, but their friends and the people around them, or even around you, that you're this person that you're like, well, who's that? I've never been told that before. Like, it's just so extreme, so bizarre, so nutso, that you're like, that's not who I am. And that's the beginning of you finding yourself. That's the beginning of you realizing they don't know who you are. When you have this on a real core, deep level from massive pain of someone just trying to destroy you and convince you, oh, you're this over here, you're this, and you're like, and it's such a foreign, like, wait, what? That's when you start to realize, not only do they not know who you are, that's when you start thinking for yourself, because you become very aware, how many times in my life is this going to happen to me? And you stop caring about what anybody thinks about you. And that's when you get your true emotional freedom. That's when you start thinking for yourself. And the cool thing is, this is when you start to begin to realize who you actually are. This is like the deepest depths of finding out, well, who am I? Wasn't it Emerson or one of those guys that said, know thine self? That is such a powerful phrase that I'd heard it for 20 years, didn't really realize it until I realized it. It sets you free. You start to think for yourself. And not only that, but all of a sudden when people have these opinions and beliefs and philosophies about you, it rolls off your back like water off a duck. Like water off a duck's back, because ducks have this oil that goes all the way down their feathers and their back, and it just rolls right off. And the freedom to think for yourself without any words, oh, what do they think? Are they going to get mad at me? The freedom of expressing yourself, the freedom of being creative, of doing what you want to do with your life. It's the most amazing experience you'll have ever. And the techniques I teach on internal awareness and emotional grounding, those are the skills that develop this and make this stronger inside you, so you don't have to wait to get completely annihilated by someone and have your heart and soul ripped out to finally, to start self-thinking and going within. So the game narcissists are playing is they have to get you to be external. And then what happens is it's like you have your energy out of your forehead, because the left brain literally goes out of your forehead. And now they have like a handle or a rope to grab onto, and now they pull you into this tug of war with you, and it's exhausting. So I come along, I teach you how to be internal and internally grounded, and it brings that energy back inside and drops it down inside you. And now there's no handle or rope to hold on to. And now you're free. You've stepped out of the game. And finally stepped into your power. So when you work with me, I'm unlocking all the limitations that they conditioned into you, and I opened you up to all the possibilities, to your power. So here's an image from my NLP Master Practitioner training manual. So here, look, do you see where in the middle at the top of his head says filters? So one thing our brain does is delete, distort, and generalize. Why? Because you literally have millions and millions of bits of information, from temperature change to vibrations to words to images to the lighting constantly slightly changing to movement to you have so much information coming at you that your brain has to delete most of it, distort most of it, and to generalize it just to understand what's going on. Now you have all kinds of filters. You've got something called time, space, matter, and energy. You've got language. Language is a filter. When you learn a secondary language and you get really good at speaking that language, the world appears differently. So people that are Spanish-speaking people that learn to speak English, they're like, yeah, like everything changes. Like it filters everything through language, because language, words are filters, okay? Another huge filter is your memories from childhood or just memories from the past. We tend to filter everything through memories even though they're not here now. And what those filters do is they change what's actually going on in the real world right now in front of your face. So then you have decisions, rules, beliefs, values, your attitude. All of these are filters. And then you have what we call meta programs. These are preset programs that go automatic. These are programs like matching and mismatching. A matcher comes in the room and matches everything. A mismatcher mismatches. So if you say, isn't it beautiful? A mismatcher, which usually is a narcissist, will unconsciously say, no, it's not beautiful. It's ugly. And they could have, 5 minutes before they walk in the door, they might even think, wow, what a beautiful day. But the minute you said it was beautiful, they flip. Now, this is when people are not conscious. This is called being asleep and being unconscious. You're letting your programs think, talk, speak, and take actions for you. You're not present. All right, so obviously I can't even teach you this one page in one video, okay? But here's my point. Is you have to start realizing that every single person is filtering everything around them through all these different filters. So what they're getting inside is not what's on the outside. They have essentially changed 98% of everything they're experiencing. Now this is why meditation is so important, because you start to see things for the way they are. When you're in a really deep meditative state and then you go out into the world. So I noticed with me, when I would meditate for 2 hours, I could be in that for half the time. So for 1 hour, and then 4 hours and 2 hours. But then all of a sudden, all the crazy shit started coming back. And I started thinking, I was in my forehead, my ego. And that's your filter. That's where your filters are put when you're in your ego. So now you're filtering everything through this very narrow thing, and you're not seeing what's going on. It's like looking through really, really green colored sunglasses. You might hold a red apple up in front of those sunglasses, but it genuinely, honestly looks like it's a green apple when it's actually a red apple. That's a filter. So when I started meditating, when I got really, really good at it, it was so peaceful, because all that internal dialogue goes away. All of your memories go away. Oh my God, people are mean to me. Oh God, all of that just goes away. So you go out in the public, and I remember the first couple times I was like, whoa, honestly, it was kind of like being high. Okay, now I don't smoke pot, but I did back when I was in high school about a dozen times, and in college maybe half a dozen times. But the point being, it was like, I would laugh and giggle and like, whoa, because when your filters are gone, you can see other people's filters. And then when people try to look at you like, oh, you're this person, when you can see that they're filtering it and you're really conscious of it, you almost start to grin because you're completely free of it. Because when you meditate, you come inside, you ground, your energy, that cord comes back inside. And so you're looking at them and they have no control of your emotions, no control of your feelings. And you're just going, wow, like you start to understand what's been going on in the world and on the planet forever. So now, I'm going to give you a cheat code. When I started doing self-love, okay, these are actual techniques where, and I've taught them somewhat over the last couple months, maybe even over a year and a half. When you become internal, when you start to love that being inside, you just become a more self-loving person. So this made me more aware of other people that for whatever reason, their mom raised them that way, they went to a therapist at a young age, but I found out, and here's what I noticed, that people that love themselves, people that are compassionate with themselves, people that are kind to themselves, are also loving, compassionate, kind, and understanding to you. Because these are the filters that they're filtering you through. Loving, kind, self-love, compassionate, understanding. So they're just listening to understand. And these are the people that truly want to get to know you for you. So when they look at you, they look through their filters of love and compassion and understanding. And that's what they begin to receive. That's what they see. So on the other hand, I started noticing people that they didn't believe in themselves. They didn't like themselves. They had self-doubt. They had negative self-dialogue about themselves, etc. Like, oh, I'm an idiot. Oh, I'm this, I'm that. I learned real fast. The minute I started catching people doing that stuff, it's like, oh, I'm gone. I got to get the hell out of here, because they're going to start filtering those negative beliefs, values, the way they look at themselves. They're going to filter you through all that. Now you're going to be the son of a bitch bastard. With these people, you can buy them a gift, you can pay for dinner, you could do the nicest thing in the world, and they're not going to see that. They're going to filter it through their negative filters, and that's what they're going to see. Oh, you're trying to manipulate me. Oh, you're trying to trick me. Oh, you're trying to do this. So what I started to do a few years back, or a little bit more than that, is I just started hanging out with people that were very kind to themselves and had a lot of self-love, because they started treating me a lot better. Remember, when people first meet you, they're going to put their best foot forward. We are all taught that. It's almost like kind of inborn in us, At the very least, we were definitely taught that at a young age, and this is just what we do automatically, unconsciously. But after a period of time, and also during this time when they're putting their best foot forward, they're filtering unconsciously. Remember, this is unconscious. They don't even know they're doing it. Everything you say, do, feel, hear, smell, and taste, they're filtering all of this through their filters. And if they have negative filters, here's one. If they are very critical of themselves, guess what? Once they stop putting their best foot forward, i.e. love bombing, that criticalness is going to be unleashed on you. Nothing you say, nothing you do, nothing you give them is good. It is all bad. It is all going to be criticized, and it's all going to be shredded and ripped apart. So if I could give you one absolute masterpiece of advice, notice people who are self-loving, self-caring, just good to themselves, compassionate when they make a mistake, self-compassionate, and just understanding of themselves, because that's what you're going to get back from them. Hey, God bless you guys. This is Mike Kollin at MikeKollin.com. Please click subscribe if you like this video. Click the like button, make a comment, and if you want, go ahead and make a donation right there in the description box beneath the video. There's a PayPal link in the description box. See you guys in the next video. Bye.